all the other things going on. I've already eaten. I forgot to update the titles. Forgot to update the titles. I'll update it on YouTube, by the way. If you're not on YouTube, swing over to YouTube. That's where I put the most in. And so let me... There we go. Brand new screen here. So go ahead and swing over to YouTube, youtube.com/BOTSY/Botsy. And yeah, that's what I'm going to change the title, everything like that. So we are live. That's good. I'm going to have to clean off the camera again. Oh, we already got 1 like. Thank you so much to whoever gave the 1 like. I'm going to change this title. While I do that, I'm going to make sure that we're live on Restream. Oh, live on Facebook. Yep, good. Live on Facebook. Facebook.com/CovCaitlin. Now tomorrow, the details of the video are still good, just not the date. I actually want to call this hybrid practice. It's okay, and CDs. We're picking up from yesterday. It's actually the 16th. It's my adoptive sister's birthday today. And it's my birthday tomorrow. Now everything else is fine. Nothing else is dated. But no, it's not made for kids. And go ahead and save that. And I don't have to do that later. So the title is updated on Facebook. Yeah, so it's 38. Oh, I spelled practice wrong. Okay. Pulling up everything here. That's great. Okay, and we're live there too. Oh, and I see a heart by Thor. I think you hearted last night's as well for the perfect pitch. I know y'all lurk. It's okay. I'm getting used to that. Okay. So like I said, I've already eaten, so I won't be like eating anything that. I will be drinking something though. When I say drinking something, you'll see. Yeah, you'll see. Okay. And so I realize how that sounds. Pulling up the chat. Making sure the door stays closed. And alright, so we got our water, of course. But we also got the new Mountain Dew flavor, Mountain Dew Voodoo. I'm sure you've heard of it. Of course, not sponsored by Mountain Dew, but yeah. So I only got the cans of it, less caffeine, everything like that. I've got water. I'll be balancing everything out for those inquiring minds. But I will be trying it tonight because tomorrow I'm off to New York. And you can read more about that in the description because tomorrow is my birthday. I will live to be 28 years old. Do I look 28? How old do I look? Let me know. Oh, reminds me I gotta put my phone. What's it called? On Do Not Disturb. And my mom wanted to message to say that she's watching. And I hope you got all your shopping done. She cannot comment. That's why she's messaged me. But I am going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb now. That was a good reminder to do that. And I did get all my shopping done. I got a lot. So if you guys want a what I got at Target for this trip, let me know. Yeah, I probably went a little bit overboard. And I still didn't find any Christmas stuff. But at any rate, okay, so we've done that. We're going to go back to the video. So I can make sure it's live. We're going to clean off this camera. There we go. Okay, refocus it. Now, there we go. And that should make it a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Not so blurry. Until it goes blurry again. But, alright. Goody goody gumdrop. Everything seems to be going well. That looked crazy on camera. And we're in. So, So, once again, I'm going to be asking Google to set the alarm, and we're going to try the voodoo flavor. Hey Google, set an alarm for 1 hour.
Done. Set for tomorrow at 12:05 a.m.
Cheers. It's good. It tastes black. Like, it tastes black. That's what it tastes like. Oh, okay, I taste the cherry in it. I'm supposed to be refining my ear, and I'm sitting here refining my taste palette. Okay, I'm going to, if that's even the way you say it. We're going to move this over just a little bit more so you guys can see the bed. Okay, let's get on with it. So, yesterday we left off. Let's do a quick recap of the CDs that we've been listening to. Because it's supposed to be purposeful practice. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, I just saw the note. There it is. Here's the notebook. I think that's a pen right there. Alright. Hello, Pitch. So, you want to know what's funny is I asked my daughter what I should bring with me when I told her I was coming. And she said, first thing she told me was my guitar. So, I know she's probably going to be a bit surprised that it's not this one over here, the blue one. It's actually going to be Pitch over here. But, I think she'll, you know. But we're still going to get my blue guitar fixed. Just whenever, probably maybe like next month in November, something like that. We'll wait a little while. But we're still going to get that fixed. But I will be bringing, with the case, so this won't happen again. With the case, everything like that, making sure real nice and safe on the airplane, because I'm actually flying on an airplane. Alright, I've rambled long enough, let's continue. So, quick rundown for everybody. We listened to the CDs through probably like the 4th one, maybe the 6th one, whatever. Went to, then we had the guitar, so then we went to do the exercise where we listened to the 6 open notes. But I forgot, I missed a lot of exercises in the beginning, and I was having a lot of trouble identifying them. What was supposed to only take a week of, like 15-minute practices was taking, 30 practices later, and I was still not really getting it too much. So, we learned from L Consciousness that we were doing some things wrong, and then I was like, let me read the book. From reading the book, I learned that we did some things wrong. We also found out that we had a missing CD number 12, and then, so I went back to the CDs. And I realized I was doing everything wrong. Like, everything I was doing to practice, I was doing wrong. This time around, we're also not listening to the relative pitch CDs just yet, because I think it confused me. And now that we have a guitar, and I know what to listen for. So it wasn't a complete waste of time, I don't think, because it's all trial and error, but I'm definitely on the right track now. So, let's review. You can't develop perfect pitch if you don't understand it. The ear's ability to hear, perfect pitch is the ear's abilities to hear and interpret pitches. Music is all about hearing pitches. Perfect pitch is nothing more or less than color hearing. The sound spectrum, just like you have a visual spectrum. Don't tune a guitar a little flat. That's just a little tip there, because I was tuning it flat. Perfect pitch is different than tuning. So once again, I was like, okay, well maybe I'll try to tune by ear and that will help me out. Or, it's different. Perfect pitch doesn't mean you can sing it perfectly with the correct vibration every time. We also tried singing it, but L Consciousness pointed out it might be confusing me, as you could consider the voice another different kind of timbre or instrument color. Different sounds that instruments make. And so yes. And then perfect pitch is a very human but accurate perception, meaning don't expect perfection, another tip that L Consciousness had given us. Also, there's different shades of A, just like there's different shades of red. Musical memory, like kinesthetic memory, like when you're just playing on instrument and you just know where to go without thinking about it because you have that kind of muscle memory. Chords have different chord colors. So a C sharp minor, not a C minor. They sound different between a C sharp and a C minor. So even like within the same kind of chord, but you're playing it differently. And we're listening for the color of the individual chord. So each chord has its own color, as well as the individual notes played inside the chord. Now, perfect pitch is just a perception. So it's just a perception. It does not mean or those who have perfect pitch, it doesn't, they don't easily get lost in performance, but they can more easily pick back up if they do get lost. So also it's about listening and it's like listening and discriminating between languages, like accents. It's not something that's it's not something that's far from us. It's something that's already in our ear. We just have to know how to bring it out. So similarities and differences between hearing and vision. With vision, a red light wave vibrates slowly compared to the blue, but the eyes see the quick one as blue and the slower one as red. That is similar to the hearing spectrum that I talked about earlier. On the musical sound spectrum, the ear has one sound wave frequency. It sounds like the ear hears one sound wave frequency that, for instance, sounds like F sharp, and it hears another that sounds like a C. But the difference is the ear has actually a larger sound spectrum than your eyes do. So there's many different octaves in the field of hearing. Not surprising, it has a color perception. And with vision, you can only see one octave of one frequency. If you could see higher, just one frequency or octave, you may see violet start to turn to red. And there are cases of people being born and being able to see a lot more colors than the average person can see. Moving on, sound colors. That's what we hear. Vocal tension pitch is not at all like perfect pitch. Another thing I was doing wrong. Because I was like, okay, so I know what it seems like if I sing a low E. So I know what it should feel like, and I know what an A should feel like. Therefore, I can kind of judge it. So another thing I was doing wrong, those are two different things. Hearing is complex. Surface level is the relationships. That's relative hearing. Hearing that one thing is higher or lower, or where it is in relation to something else. Even though relative hearing is so much more than that. And on a deeper level, you start to hear the colors as you're getting deep into the pitch. Now, perfect pitch training is not a focus of awareness, but a new expansion of hearing that we did not hear before. We have to listen every day to the note to expand. We have to listen every day to the note to expand what we hear. And we had left off that day at 15 minutes and 37 seconds on track 2. Then we picked up and talked about color patterns of the music. Absolute equals non-changing. It's a natural ability. Hear what's different about the tones, not just the relationship. So we really want to focus on the individual tones. F sharp has a twangy feel to it, vibrant. E flat has a softer, mellower sound. These are pitch colors. If you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear this. For instance, F sharp might hear weir, 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 and an E flat might hear wong, wong, wong. You'll also hear it best via live instruments, another thing I was doing wrong, and not via tape at first for being a beginner. And that's also one of the things that L Consciousness pointed out, just like he did with the languages as well, kind of listen for the vowels. And so you might not even hear it on the audio tapes, and you at home might not hear the differences from me on my own when I'm playing, or via the note card recordings, or, until you get more advanced if you're just beginning, if you're just starting out like me. So it's actually really important to also have your own live instrument. We hear the pitch rising and the same tone. Each tone has its own quality. So that's kind of like if you're like playing along the fretboard and you hear, different tones, things like that, or if you hear, yeah. So it's not about figuring out how high or low something is. It's registering the sounds, the quality, like describing visual colors. Red, you would say it's vibrant. Blue, mellow. Green, I don't know, growy. Go to own instrument and hear for yourself that these sounds exist. So we did that. Which again was a little easier because we did this weird roundabout way. You were hearing for differences. Not concrete or overtly noticeable, it's subtle and delicate. Don't try to make it concrete. Even with perfect pitch, it's always refined. We just learn to identify the little differences. The ear has gotten into a habit of listening horizontally, and that means like how tones flow. Perfect pitch is vertical hearing. Don't compare it. Don't compare one note to the other. Just listen to each tone. The ear has been conditioned to hear only relationships. Get it into the habit of listening inside the tones. Don't try to make it clear. If you notice a little difference, then you have heard it correctly. F sharp is like red, because it's bold and sticks out. We're not associating things with colors. The E flat is softer, mellow. Up in octaves, it still has the same quality, but almost like it's a different tint. Learn in the center of the fretboard first. That's not a mistake that we were making, maybe kind of, but or at least we haven't gotten that far to make that mistake yet. Without perfect pitch, you only have black and white hearing because everything else is shades of gray. Twang, colors or flavor, you can call it colors or you can call it flavors or scents or even personalities to describe. Remember, it's all about perception. There's some edge that we lose from the F sharp to the A flat, though they're different kinds of smooth. Go back to the instrument and listen for these flavors. Okay, so you know what we're listening for? We're just listening to each individual tone. We're not comparing it. I'm not comparing the low tones to the other low notes. We are just listening, and you can do this on your own instrument. Like I said, that's best. So, everything we were doing wrong. So, I'm going to drink some water, drink some Mountain Dew, and continue on. And I've got the chats up right here as well. Okay, so. It says mystery flavor. I feel like this can will be worth something one day. Because it says limited edition 2020. And it's really the best way to describe this is you can taste the cherry, if you think about it. But it's like an aftertaste, but it's just black. Like that's the flavor I first think of. Which, is just perfect. So is this blanket, actually. Just perfect for what we're about to do. Yes. I don't like it as much as original Mountain Dew, but it is good for just, yeah. Okay, and drinking some water. We'll get some more water as well. Not during the stream, but I mean, I'll drink more water today. Okay. Let's do this thing. Oof. Random pain. Okay. And we got my picks right here. Did we put it back in? Yep. I'm surprised when past me does the right thing for future me. Okay, so we're going to use this green pick right here. Or actually, I want to use the red one. This red one. Okay, there we go. And, alright, let's make sure that she's in tune. Or he's in tune. Or they're in tune. And that you can see the little tuner here. I'm going to scoot over on this bench. Place the guitar a little bit like this. Okay. As I always say, if this is orange, that means it's in stasis. If it's or too low, too flat. If it's green, that means it's good, just right. That's where we want it to be. And if it's red, well, that's where we didn't want it to be. Is my voice really an F? Because that always shows like an F sharp. And that just showed like a perfect F sharp. But I didn't hit any keys. Is that me? Like, seriously, did I really talk that high? Or, I think it's that high. Anyways, we're not thinking about high and low right now. Getting me off target. But if it's and then that was a G. Okay, sure. If it's too low, oh, because when I speak, I guess it's creating noise in there. Interesting. Anyways, if it's too high, it'll be red, which we didn't like before, but now, you know, if we can't get it perfect, I guess we'll deal with a little bit of red, a little bit of too sharp, because we learned we were doing that wrong. All right, let's get into it. Now, they shouldn't have changed much from yesterday, but who knows? You guys can see the little tuner here? All right. I see green. Very little bit. Okay, it's not picking up background noise. Okay, I just feel like that's a little bit too. We're just gonna leave it there. Really? What is everything gonna be? I mean, it's pretty good. Very little bit. That's what I'm talking about. Guess you could be tuned a little bit more. I know I'm looking for it to also be in like the red-green category, but I feel like if it's in green a lot, then, you know, the majority of the time, right? Ugh. I'm just making excuses over here, don't mind me. Okay, high E was actually good. Good to know. Alright. And B, alright. Well, see, there's some red. We don't want it. No, that was for me talking. see. Alright. Alright, G5. Why are you still too low? Okay, now I can feel that that's tight. Last thing I want to do is restring a guitar before I leave. Alright, we're leaving you there. Okay, so, good enough. Okay, make sure we have no comments. We're still streaming. Goody gumdrop. Okay, so, our task after all of that, and this is why I ate first, is to listen. Just listen. We're just trying to pick up little differences. In the future, I might tune the guitar first and then get into the rest of it. So that way, I don't get off track from what I was doing. Middle of fretboard. I mean, I guess it's kind of like also looking at notes like individual people, right? Like, you can't group anybody as the same, right? We're not grouping anybody as low or high or anything like that. So it's just more about each person is its own individual. So each group is its own individual, and just like a woman doesn't live in relation to a man, you know what I mean? Or, you know, anything like that, or what have you. So it is with the notes. You know, an A doesn't live in relation with a low E, and a B doesn't live in relation with a high E. They're each their own individual person, and I'm going to view it as we're giving them a right. Well, not rights, but, you know, struggling for a more equal world in the sound spectrum. Ironically, the opposite of how we would struggle for more equality in the world. With the visual spectrum. In the visual spectrum, we should not discriminate by individual characteristic or color or any of that kind of stuff. But in the sound spectrum, you do discriminate between the colors in order to identify them. I work in like civil rights and voting rights, so for me this analogy works well. I don't know how it works for you, but you might like the languages or the accents or the scents or something better. Better, more political take. Well, not that it should be political anyways. expanding the ear. Let me consult with my book again. Where's, oh, my notes, I mean. Go back to the instrument and listen for these flavors. Okay. So, no real task yet, we're just listening for things. Some of you know my history with my ears, so it's quite an interesting, I think, experience. It can even be quite a healing experience between myself and my ears, to expand their hearing and quite an interesting task Justin picked for me, I must say. And I wonder if he's bot crying right now. Striffiat was actually on the right track when he told me to try to make the sounds with my tongue and of this individual notes, and not to not because of vocal tension pitch, but just to hear the individual characteristics. So I'll have to tell them that. And you're not supposed to strain your ears either. So I think even when we are listening to the tapes, we're just going to have to take some time, maybe 15 minutes, to just listen to maybe just one note over and over again and just identifying something different with it. You know, there's little subtle differences. The other thing I was doing wrong in practice, and you wouldn't know this because you're not in my head, but I would try to use more relative pitch to try to find where the note was at. Oh, I'm too high, I'm too low. Which is, of course, something that L Consciousness did point out that I was doing wrong. We're going to help future me. And, okay. And let us go to the CDs. Okay, where's the remote? And then after that alarm goes off, I'll show you my little Target haul. Or maybe I won't. Yeah, maybe I won't show you the Target haul. Not because there's anything bad, it's just, yeah, I'll just save that. Okay, so we're going to pick up where we left off. CD. Oh, we're on the right CD. Track 1, 1043. So we're going to turn down the volume here, so that I can fast forward. We're on this track. And we're going to fast forward. I think though my little haul was worth it. No new electronics though, so. Best Buy also wasn't open. They now close at 6. Otherwise, I might have seen if they had that mic. Almost there. 1043.
Flavors, these colors do exist on your instrument, which you have been playing for all this time. So the F sharp and the A flat do sound distinctly different. What if we put it into a chord? We have an F sharp chord, and compare that with an A flat major chord. What difference do we hear? Well, the F sharp chord has some kind of brilliancy to it. It's a brilliant kind of a sound, a very bold sound, a brave sound. Whereas the A flat is more rounded. Participants at the live seminars enjoy themselves thoroughly because as soon as one seminar participant says, oh, it sounds kind of rounded, the other one will say, oh yes, I thought it sounded sort of smooth too, and sort of soft. And they're all going back and forth describing the very same thing in their own words. It's a very interesting experience. It goes to show you that it's not something which is unique to any one musician. We've all got this mechanism of perfect pitch in our ear. It's just that we have never really used it. We've never really listened in this way before. Let's listen to the F sharp major chord and an E flat major chord. Here's F sharp, E flat, F sharp, E flat. Try this on a piano live or on your own instrument, if you can play chords on your instrument, and you will hear a difference. And remember, we're not listening for a clear kind of a difference. It's a subtle thing. It's a feeling that when you play the F sharp chord and you move to the E flat, something has changed. You cannot maybe quite put your finger on what has changed, but something to your ear has definitely changed, and it's not having anything to do with how high the pitch is. Obviously, this first chord is higher, and this one is lower. We're not talking about high and low, and we're not talking about relationship. This is a minor third higher than this. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an intrinsic quality in the actual tones themselves. The F sharp chord has a bolder sound because F sharp is the root of the chord, and the root of a chord is the strongest sound in a chord. So if the root of this chord is vibrant, then that flavors the entire chord with that vibrant color. The E flat, an E flat chord has an E flat as its root, so the E flat will have the strongest input in an E flat major chord, so it flavors the entire chord with a softer kind of a feel to it. Composers have used various keys and chords in different ways for different reasons, even unconsciously. We tend to choose chords that suit the kind of feeling we're trying to express in music, even unconsciously, because an A major chord will not have the same feel to it as a B flat major chord. Completely different feel, because all the tones in those chords are completely different. Not one of them is the same, but it does have the same structure. This is the beauty of absolute pitch perception. Hearing that the structure is the same, but all the color sounds have completely shifted. But once again, we don't try to hear it clearly. Absolute pitch training is an effortless training. What we don't want to do is we don't want to practice this perfect pitch training with an idea that you're going to get in there and force your ear and whip it in shape. This is not the kind of training. Maybe if you're going to do weightlifting or something like that and you have to get a lot of endurance, you're going to run many, many miles, maybe you have to force yourself and all this kind of straining. But this we cannot do with this absolute pitch training, because if you strain, the ear will not hear. The ear will only hear when it feels comfortable and relaxed, and you just let it listen. Now, because this experience of pitch color is a subtle experience, I know that at this point many of you are doubting whether you are having the right experience. If you're having some kind of experience where sometimes you think you hear it and sometimes you don't hear it, this is just the right experience. This is the way it starts off. It's not something that is in full bloom. It's something which is just growing. You've just had your first taste of this. It's something which you're unsure about. So sometimes you hear it and sometimes you don't. And let me tell you, the time you'll hear it is when you're not trying to hear it. And then when you hear it just a little bit, you get all excited and you say, oh wow, I hear it now. And then you listen even more and it just evaporates. This is the way this experience of color is. It's a very subtle perception. It's a refined, cultured perception. So that is just the right experience. Now, as far as this twanginess, for instance, we're just going to talk about this F sharp right now. This twanginess could not be the timbre of the piano. Some people, when they hear it, when I go and do these live seminars, the first thing they say is, oh, well, yes, I do hear that that F sharp sounds twangy, but that's just the timbre of the piano. It's something in the piano. Maybe there's a screw loose in the piano. You see, that's not it. It's the absolute pitch color of that F sharp. From now on, throughout all time, past and present, whenever a human ear hears that pitch, it will sound twangy. Now, in Bach's time, the pitch was different. We had a lower standard of pitch, but it doesn't make any difference. We can call this note F sharp, or we can call it F, or we can call it G, or we can call it X or Y. We can call it anything we want. The point is that whenever this pitch is heard, that is the pitch that has that twang to it. It's not part of the piano because you can hear it on all instruments. When the ear is developed, we hear it on all the instruments. So it's nothing that has to do with the piano itself. And furthermore, it's nothing to do with any one particular piano. Because see, when I go all over the country, I have to depend on the fact that the piano I'm going to use is going to have a twangy F sharp and a mellow E flat. It would not look too good if I went somewhere and then I tried to demonstrate this and the F sharp sounded mellow and the E flat sounded twangy. See, I have to depend on this. Doesn't make any difference if the piano is an upright, grand, baby grand. Doesn't make any difference. I've had piano tuners tell me, in fact, that they always felt that that F sharp was very difficult to tune because it always had a buzz in it that they try to get out. And I've told them, that is exactly the way the F sharp should sound. You can't really get that out. I had a harpsichord maker tell me one time that he had been trying to get the twang out of the F sharps for years. I told him, you can't get it out. That means you've made your harpsichord right, because that's the color sound of an F sharp. You can't get the color out of it. This is the way an F sharp sounds when it's in tune. It has a nice, twangy, vibrant quality. And the B flat has a different kind of a sound. They all have a different sound. I'm not going to tell you what they all are. I want you to hear this for yourself. I'm just starting you off. See, at the seminar, I'm often asked to give adjectives to describe all 12 of the tones so that you can know what to listen for. People always say, tell us what a G sounds like, tell us what an E sounds like. But I never do that, and I'll tell you why. I want you to hear these sounds for yourself. It's not something that I can describe for you, and then you can go and listen and try to hear it the way I'm hearing it. If I just told you, okay, perfect pitch is color hearing, go listen for the colors, you would have no idea on earth what to listen for. But I sort of hint at it. I say, you see this F sharp? It has a little twangy color. And it sounds like this. Where, like that. And then I say, E flat sounds wah, wah, wah. I just give a little hint, and then you know what to listen for. Then your ear knows how to listen in a vertical direction. And once you're set on that path, then there's nothing to figure out. It's just a matter of hearing it, and whatever it is, that's what it is. You can't hear it wrong. Some people are worried about, well, what if I hear it wrong? You can hear it wrong, because whatever the color is what it is. You don't have to think of it in terms of words, twangy, mellow, soft, all these things. We don't have to put it into words if we don't want. They will all become clear as you listen yourself. Now, as we do listen, what happens is our color discrimination grows. We said that the first level of perfect pitch was color awareness. That's what you've got right now, when you can sense some difference. You're not sure, you can't really put your finger on what it is, but you sense something different. Maybe if you change keys from here to here, something is a little different. This is color awareness. And when we practice our color hearing technique exercises, the color hearing grows. It becomes established in the awareness so that it becomes color discrimination. Whatever note I play, you can tell what that note is on your own instrument. Now what happens after that is, when you can clearly hear, and when I say clearly, I mean that you can recognize. I don't mean that the experience becomes concrete. It doesn't become concrete, it just becomes clear on that level. It's a subtle clarity. But when you can clearly recognize all the tones on your own instrument, then this perception can become refined. It can become refined color discrimination. And this is our third level of perfect pitch. Refined color discrimination. If you can tell this is an E, F, F sharp, G, A flat, A, all of that, then the hearing gets refined enough so that you can tell in between notes a little. If a tone is a little bit sharp or flat. Now anybody can tell if something is sharp or flat if you play one note and then you play another note and you compare the two to see if one is sharp or one is flat. Now I'm not talking about that. I'm saying you have one note and you are able to tell to some extent if that one tone is a little sharp or a little flat to standard concert pitch. Now this is the way it works. It's very similar to the way our eyes see visual colors. It's very interesting. If we have our color spectrum, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and we see all of that. Now those are bands of color, and they all melt one into the other. It's not just here's red, and there's orange, and there's yellow. No, it all melts one color into the other. So if you see red and you see orange, what is that color that is right in between those two? Well, it's red-orange, isn't it? Because when your eye looks at it, you can tell that it's got some red in it and it's got some orange. So you can't really say it's red or orange. You have to say it's red-orange. Well, it's exactly the same way with pitch color perception. Here's an E. Here's an F. This has the color sound of an E. This has the color sound of an F. If this E were a little bit sharp, it would start to sound a little F-ish. In the same way that if the visual color red is a little sharp, so to speak, it starts to look a little orangish. It's the exact same way. See, some people think that if you have perfect pitch, you have some kind of a mental barometer in your brain which just registers boing and tells you exactly how high or low a pitch is. And this is not it at all. It's just the color perception. If this E sounds like it has a little bit of F mixed in with it, then you are able to tell that that's a little bit sharp. Or if this E sounds a little bit like the E flat, then you say that that E is a little flat. You can tell that way. If it becomes too much mixed with that sound color of the E flat, then you'll just say it's an E flat. There's a range. It's not just a line drawn around every note. It's a range, and they all melt one into the other. This is refined color perception, when the ear is able to hear the colors clearly on our own instrument, and then we start to be able to tell if those colors are a little bit sharp or a little bit flat. Now, up until this point, we usually only hear these colors clearly on our own instrument, as we have said. If we're a guitarist, then we would hear it best on our own guitar. We can hear them clearly on the guitar, but as soon as somebody plays a note on the piano, we have no idea. You're completely lost. Now, this is a common experience. People come to the seminar all the time. They don't even think they have perfect pitch, and they tell me, yes, any note that you play on the piano, I know what it is, but as soon as I hear the violin, I have no idea what's playing. A conductor in the Los Angeles area told me that any tone played on an oboe, he can tell you exactly what the tone is. He's an oboe player, but he said that any of the instruments in the orchestra, besides the oboe, he had no idea what those tones were. Now this is perfect pitch, because it is color discrimination. We can hear the colors on our own instrument, so this is perfect pitch, but it's just one level of perfect pitch. We can refine our hearing even more so that we can hear these colors on all instruments, and this would be called universal color discrimination, when the ear can hear these colors clearly and recognize them in all the universal varieties of pitches, whether it's our own instrument, or piano, guitar, oboe, violin, bassoon, bells, little glasses of water, and we kind of go around the rim and make a little sound, or whistles, or birds, or voices. No matter what the pitch is, we're able to tell the name of that tone. This is universal color discrimination. Now, why does this phenomenon exist? Why, at first, can we only hear these colors on our own instrument and not on other instruments? What prevents us from hearing the color on instruments that we don't really play so much? Well, timbre is the culprit. Timbre is a large consideration when we're talking about color hearing, because timbre means tone color, and it's very easy to confuse tone color with pitch color. So let's review here just a second. Tone color is what lets us tell instruments apart. Pitch color is what lets us tell pitches apart. If it's that twangy color sound of the F sharp, or if it's the mellow color sound of an A flat or an E flat, or the bright color sound of an A. That's what pitch color is. Now what happens is this. Let's say we have a pianist. He's practicing his color hearing technique exercises, and he's able to recognize all the tones on the piano: C sharp, B flat, B, E. Now this pianist has perfect pitch. He has already developed color discrimination on the piano. But somebody comes in with a synthesizer and plays something like this. And all of a sudden, the pianist has no idea what tones are being played. Why? The colors, we have said, are at a very deep level of perception. They're delicate. They're quiet. They're subtle. Whereas the tone color, the timbre of the instrument, is on the surface level of perception. It's obvious. It's easy to hear. How long did it take you to practice in order to be able to tell the difference between a piano and a guitar? How many hours a day did you have to practice? Well, I hope you didn't have to go too long, because that's easy. Anybody can tell the difference between a piano, a guitar, a violin, and a flute. Now, when the pianist is learning to identify pitch colors on the piano, his ear is listening very deeply into these tones. His ear penetrates deep inside so that it hears that twangy color and the mellow color. And then all of a sudden, if somebody comes along with a different kind of a sound, his ear, which was listening so deeply, all of a sudden surfaces and says, what is this new timbre on the surface? And in so doing, it loses temporarily the color experience it had on the piano. The pianist is used to hearing that the F sharp sounds twangy, and the E flat sounds mellow. But then when he comes along and listens to the synthesizer, they all sound twangy. Because the timbre of this particular synthesizer sound is twangy. If we play an E flat, he may think it's an F sharp just because the timbre is twangy. Or if I put it like this, they all sound like E flats because all of the sounds are mellow. You see how the timbre of an instrument can confuse the pitch color? But this is an illusion. It's a total illusion. In reality, pitch color can never be covered up. An F sharp is always the twangy one, regardless of what the instrument is. It can be piano, guitar, oboe, synthesizer, violin, trumpet. The F sharp is always the one that is the twangy one. Now, when we say F sharp, we mean a concert F sharp, concert pitch, whatever you would have to play on that instrument in order to match an F sharp on the piano. So that would be a G sharp, of course, on the B flat clarinet, for instance. So a concert F sharp is always the twangy one. The E flat is always a mellower kind of a sound, and it doesn't make any difference at all what the timbre of the instrument is. The ear has to learn the distinction between pitch color and tone color, the color of the instrument and the color of the pitch itself. This is universal color discrimination. You have to hear these things for yourself. Now we can go further than universal color discrimination to judge if that tone is a little sharp or a little flat on all instruments. Then we call this refinement spectral discrimination. Well, I hear a G, and that G sounds like it's just a little bit sharp. This A has a range. It could be sharp or flat. All of these are A's. Even though we say that A should be 440 or 220 or 110 vibrations per second, it doesn't always work out that way. There is a range of what A is. Now here I have to set aside another myth. Some people think that if you have perfect pitch, any tone that you hear, you know exactly how sharp or flat this is. And that is not true. It's a human perception. You will hear a tone and it might be an E. And then if you listen to it a little closer, you say, oh, I think that E is a little bit flat. How flat is it? Oh, I don't know. It just sounds a little bit flat. I'll say a third of a step. It's a human perception. We're not turning into a computer. But we can get a basic perception of if a tone is sharp or flat. And this we call spectral discrimination. But this is not our final level of perfect pitch. The height of perfect pitch development we call aural recall. Aural recall. This is where you can actually think of a tone. Just wake up first thing in the morning and just be able to sing any tone that you wish to sing from your own memory. A lot of people think that it's a matter of memorizing a pitch. You've heard of people that have sat there for a long, long time at the piano and playing a C over and over for a real long time to try to memorize a pitch. And then they come back a half an hour later and they sing a B. So it just wasn't memorized. See, this is not the way we develop perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is not the raw memorizing of a pitch. It's hearing the color. You'll never remember that C until you hear a color difference between the C and the B. Otherwise, if you just have a raw gray pitch, it's very easy for the C to slip down to a B or slip up to a C sharp. There's nothing to hold it there. Only with a color perception will you be able to remember accurately the pitches. So this aural recall, this highest level of perfect pitch, is a very clear perception of pitch color. It's so clear that we can hear it in our own mind and remember the pitch. It's one thing to hear it on the piano and know it's a C. It's another thing to think it up all by yourself in your own mind. That's a bit more advanced, and that's what aural recall is all about. Now, it's very interesting how this aural recall works.
She didn't hear me.
Say you want to think up a certain note, like say A flat. You don't...
Alright. Keep track of where we are. We'll get back in at 35 minutes, even though it's at 35:11. Okay, so I will be in New York tomorrow. I will see you then. I've got a lot of packing to do, a lot of just reorganizing of some things. Actually, not too much packing because a lot of my stuff is already in New York. So I will see you tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining me on my perfect pitch journey. And I will see you, bots, tomorrow night. Let me look into the camera and not weirdly up at you.